Special White House envoy Steve Witkoff in Tel Aviv today. He's meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as U.S. and Israeli officials work to secure a ceasefire deal and return hostages that are still held by Hamas. The White House says that Witkoff will go into Gaza tomorrow along with U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee. They will be inspecting food distribution sites and survey the conditions there. In the last day alone, though, more than 100 Palestinians have been killed across the Gaza Strip, most of them killed near those aid distribution centers. That's according to the Gaza Ministry of Health. So I want to bring in our former senior director for counterterrorism on the National Security Council, Javed Ali. Javed, good to have you here with us. So certainly, I think there's hope that this could be a pivotal moment in this ongoing crisis. There's also money involved here as well. I'm curious if we have any information about the president saying his administration has given $60 million to the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. And then he kind of said today, we haven't really seen the results of that yet. What is your analysis of that?
So, Kana, nice to be with you as well. And so backing up to the first point you raised about Steve Witkoff being in the region, we're going to see if he's able to get some momentum going again for the ceasefire talks that had been off and on since the ceasefire that was agreed to late last year broke down this March. So still to be determined if that will happen, but I think that is one of the critical roles that he's going to try and play going forward over the next day or two. And then getting to the issue of the aid, this is probably another factor that Special Envoy Witkoff is trying to make an assessment on of the aid that the U.S. has given so far to the Global Humanitarian Foundation and other avenues of aid. You know, how is that being distributed? How can perhaps the U.S. do more? But there's also possible risk with that in terms of getting the U.S. military back involved or getting other private contractors involved. So we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out as well.
It certainly seems like there's been a change in public rhetoric from the Trump administration in terms of the suffering going on in Gaza. But after Ambassador Huckabee and Special Envoy Witkoff are on the ground in Gaza, do you anticipate any change in posture?
We're going to also have to wait and see on that. And based on what's happened this week with the governments of Canada and France and possibly the UK all suggesting or indicating overtly that they will recognize Palestinian statehood in the run-up to the UN Security Council meeting here in New York in September. I'm not sure, though, that those kind of maneuvers by those three governments are going to be enough, though, to change the conditions on the ground to get to a ceasefire. I think the United States is the only country, really, that Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to listen to the most closely, and we're going to have to wait and see what these statements look like from President Trump, from Special Envoy Witkoff, and other senior U.S. officials to see how, if any, or how the U.S. policy will change when we get to the potential for a ceasefire.
Well, on that note, I want to pass along to you that it sounds like there was a meeting between the president and the U.S. ambassador to Turkey, Tom Barrack, who's been a longtime supporter of the president. But he went on to say that President Trump doesn't get taken advantage of by anyone, including Prime Minister Netanyahu. He wanted to make that a point to say that. And he also said that you're going to see in time, as frustrating as it is, that everyone is at the end of their lines here. What is he indicating?
Well, that seems to follow in a long line of statements we've heard, not only from President Trump, but other unnamed senior White House officials over these last few weeks, if not a couple months, that from the White House perspective, they have apparently become very frustrated with Prime Minister Netanyahu and this inability to get to the ceasefire. Now, obviously, Hamas has to be a partner in that too, or a player in that too, and they also have not been able to get to the table and agree to the terms laid out. So, but I think if these comments from Ambassador Barrack are true, it's just the latest round of similar comments we've heard from President Trump and others expressing their frustration with the course of events over these last few months.
Right, and Hamas saying essentially that Huckabee and Witkoff's visit is really nothing more than a publicity stunt, certainly unfazed, it seems, at this time. Javed Ali, our thanks to you as always.